Hey, welcome back to ZK MasterTech. Today we're back on the 8370R that we previously inspected, and we're going to replace the fan drive, we're going to replace the VGT turbo, we got to do a seal on the back of the IVT transmission, which we got to take a drive shaft out, which we got to drain all the oil in order to remove that drive shaft, to remove the hub, to get to the seal and replace the seal, and then put it all back together. Wasn't able to get any SCV couplers, they're on back order, so we're just gonna have to wait on that. But for now, Josh is tackling the VGT turbo. He's doing his first one, so we'll walk him through that. I'm gonna go ahead and tackle the fan drive while he's doing that, and should be a good productive day. Weather's nice, it's not super hot out, you know. I'm not sure if we're gonna have to get the bandana out and hit sweat level 8, so it's a good day to get this green iron moving. Let's check it out. So Josh is tearing out this VGT turbo because we're having troubles with the vane position. I'm setting a trouble code for VGT vane position mismatch. We previously put an actuator and position sensor in it, and it didn't fix it, and it keeps setting the code. I think it was stored 100 times. So we're just going to go ahead and replace this VGT for him. Josh has already been ripping and tearing parts off this thing. What all did you take off?
All the shields so far, got all the V-band clamps, oil lines, wiring harness, and working on getting this crossover pipe to the other turbo off right now.
All right. And I always had him swivel this fender out of the way and took the step off here so you can put a ladder there so you can work on it, and you can get these turbos out without taking the hood off. It's just a little inconvenience, but it can be done. So we're gonna go ahead and try to sneak her out with the hood up. So he's gonna go ahead and continue to remove those parts, and we'll get this turbo yanked out of here. So I drained down a few gallon of coolant out of there, out of the engine block petcock right there, and because we need to get the coolant level below these lines right here so we can get those out. The coolant comes from the EGR cooler, goes into the turbo, comes out, goes underneath, goes through the fuel dosing injector, and then back down into the engine block. So we got the coolant drained down. Now we can just continue to remove the pipes off this thing. Kind of show you what we're dealing with here. So we got our fixed turbo there, and we got an interstage pipe that just slides off. There's an O-ring right there. We've got our wiring for our turbo, so we have turbo speed, turbo vane position, and then we have our turbo actuator, which is right in here, a little solenoid valve there. Got to take this pipe out completely and the interstage pipe out, and then it's just 4 bolts, and then we can pull this turbo up and out of there. So I'm gonna yank this fan drive off here. Got 13s on the front. Take the front shiv off. That allows me to get my belt out of the way. Take the hydraulic line off. You're gonna dribble a little bit, but it'll quit. Take this bracket off. we got 4 15s on the back that's holding this drive into the timing cover. And they're pretty long. Just grab it with one arm, kind of hold it in. You got a little pry bar?
Yep.
There she goes. Oh boy. Okay, so now that I got the drive out of there, that's that auxiliary drive idler gear that's in there, and you make sure that that is nice and tight and not all floppy in there. And I'm going to take these nuts off here and take the fan off, then I can put a new belt on, and then I can shove a new fan drive in the hole. Well, we got 3 bolts out, but they thread into the turbo, and the thread just got stripped out, taking those out, which required, yeah, that's what those look like, which required the Milwaukee high torque half-inch to get those out. But this bolt here, it actually threads into the manifold, and we can't risk damaging the threads in the manifold, so we got the blue wrench out right now, and we're heating that up real good. Try to get that broke free to hopefully we don't damage the threads coming out with that guy. Wish us luck. Did she break free?
She is free.
Oh man, would you look at that? That baby's hot. Oh, she didn't break either. Oh, would you look at that? We saved her.
Can't beat a little heat.
Heck yeah. Alright, so we got the old fan drive, we got the turbo out finally. Snapped one bolt off in it, but I didn't care because the turbo's coming off anyway. We ended up saving the threads on the manifold, so that's good. Josh is going to tap that hole out. So here's our old turbo. Here's that turbo actuator I was telling you guys about right there. That's where your speed sensor is, and this is where your vane position sensor is here. Here's your oil supply, and then the oil return is down there at the bottom. So we're gonna get a new turbo set in there, and here's my new fan drive here. So instead of having splines on this inner sheave, we have these drive cogs right here. So the shaft turns, this is bolted to the shaft, and then these drive cogs is what's turning it there. So gonna get the fitting, the hydraulic fitting transferred over, and then you got to remember to remove this shipping bolt right here, because this bolt's threading into this little bearing housing here, and if you don't take that bolt out, she can't move forward and back. So we'll take that out, and then we'll transfer. There's a vent here. This vent's got to go into that hole, so we'll transfer that stuff over and get this fan drive installed. It's fan drive time. She's in.
In? Would that be these little brown ones or these little black?
Take them off. Already got the new belt on there, so now we just need to open up that driven sheave and shove that belt in, get it around here, bolt that on, get our fan on, and this guy's done. Set turbo in, and bolt. Okay. Oil pipe started. There you go. Go up. Bring it over. On. Compass. It's started.
Okay.
It's not all the way in, but it started. Where's the hole?
We should have to start threading her in.
It's straight. One second. Give me a 3/8 extension instead of that big honking thing.
Oh, that was an extension. Maybe? What's your name?
Swivel 15. There it is.
Got it? Other left.
Torqued-ish. We'll go back in and torque that with a torque wrench. Putting the oil return line in. It's got a little bolt that holds a clamp in there. 13 on a health extension. So. Yeah. Coolant lines. Pop those in. A little bolt in. Alright. I'm gonna go look up some torque specs. Alright, we got the turbo in there, got the bolts torqued. We got new O-rings on all the lines, got the oil drain in, got the coolant lines in. Now we just got to hook up the charge air pipe, the interstage pipe, and then the exhaust pipe in between the two turbos there, and we'll be able to put the hood back down. Alright, well the turbo's in, got all the shields back on there. Of course we had to rotate this turbo housing out a little bit in order to squeeze this guy out, and then this guy can be a booger. You can fight that guy there trying to get it into both turbos there, because there ain't any flex in that pipe. But we got her, got all the wiring and everything tidied up. Now it's time to do that transmission seal. Okay, so here we're under the tractor. I got the radar sensor out of this big hole right here, and you got two shafts coming out of your IVT transmission. You got this lower shaft, and then you got an upper shaft. That upper shaft is what's moving your rear axle, and this one is what's running your PTO and your hydraulic pumps. But the shaft seal is just leaking pretty bad, so we got to pull this drive shaft out, but it actually transfers oil through that tube into the transmission, so we got to drain the transmission down. So there's a drain plug right there. I'll drain the transmission, and then we'll go back to the axle and drain the axle down too. It's got enough hours on the oil to where I think it's got over 1,000 hours on the oil, so we're just going to discard the old oil and put the new oil in. So I'm going to drain this baby down, and then we can start taking out these 15mm bolts and get that drive shaft worked out of there to get that hub off, so there's just nothing but a spline shaft sticking out of the transmission, and then we can pull that seal out. Okay, so I got that drive shaft unbolted. It was just a bunch of 15s around this side, and then on this side there's a bunch of 15s, and then you can take one of those bolts and thread it back in there and smack it with a hammer and drive this hub that way, and then that shaft will drop up down out of there. Now we're going to pull this hub off the shaft. There she goes, just like that. And that's the seal we're going after. So we got a little dirt seal in here. Get that guy off there. Just a little dirt seal, and it's all cut and all messed up. Now we just gotta get that seal out of there. Alright, Josh?
Yeah.
Second drawer in my truck, there's a bunch of screwdrivers. Gonna need, there's a black screwdriver that's like sharpened.
Okay.
And then get the wood handled ball peen hammer, I think.
Okay.
Alright, so I drove a sharpened screwdriver into it and pried that baby off. Here she is. In all her glory. I'm just going to try to get that cavity in there cleaned out, clean that shaft a little bit, and then I've got a new seal, and then I've got a seal driver that I'm going to use to pound that new seal in there. Okay, so I got a new seal in there. I used a special seal driver, John Deere special tool for that. Put a little anaerobic sealer around that seal just in case. Drove that thing down to where it's flush with the scavenge pump housing there. So now we just got to put our hub back on, and I'll put a new dirt seal that slides over there to protect that seal. New dirt seal. We'll put new O-rings on our our hub and then O-rings on the drive shaft and put that back together. Alright, I got the drive shaft bolted in. That's what it looks like back there. There's your, right there, that is your pump drive. So goes into kind of like a differential, then your pump spline into that. So anytime your engine running, that shaft is moving. So now we just got to get the radar sensor back up in here and get the tractor full of oil and start this rig. Okay, so that's all the time we got for today. We're gonna have to come back in the morning. We got to put, you know, like 40 gallons of oil in this thing before we can start it, but I want to go back to the shop and get my oil transfer pump, make that job a whole lot easier. So we'll see you guys in the morning. Okay, it's another beautiful morning. Don't mind the tire washer running in the background, but we went ahead and got the tractor full of oil. It took about 40 gallons or so to get it filled back up, but we filled it up until the oil's in between the marks right there. So then we run it for 5 minutes at 1200 RPM, then you shut it off, and then you let the oil come back up and stabilize. And you want to make sure you have the hitch down when you're checking that oil, because you want to retract all the oil out of the cylinders for the hitch. So we got her filled up with oil, and now we're going to get the hood back down where it needs to be, and then we'll do a VGT calibration, and then we should be wrapped up here. Alright, well, she's alive. Okay, so we had to go in with Service Advisor, make a connection to the tractor, and we had to go in and do a VGT calibration. So all that is just typing in the part number, the serial number of the turbo. There's a little tag on top of the turbocharger, and then there's also this really long calibration code that you got to type in. So we got all that information saved in the ECU, and then you have to turn the key off for 120 seconds, turn the key back on, and then I went in and did a VGT learn value reset. So you reset that, turn the key off for 120 seconds, and then you start the engine back up, and then when the conditions are met, the VGT will do a relearn. So it'll relearn the vane positions in the turbo. So we got that done. Now it's sitting here running, and don't have no codes or nothing. So that's good. And I can't show you guys the SCV coupler repairs because I can't get any couplers right now. So just gonna have to wait until those couplers come in, and it's a really simple repair. So whenever I get those couplers in, I'll try to show you guys how to fix that. So until next time, keep that green iron moving, and I'll see you on the next one.